Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. We're just going to give everyone a couple more minutes to log in here before we get started. Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar, Utilizing MaxAware to Monitor the Health of Your Maximo. My name is Betsy Ambrosius, and I'm a part of the business development team here at Projetech. Today's webinar will be presented by Richard Minning from Intelligent Technology Solutions. Rich will be presenting the features and functionality of their product, MaxAware. ITS and Projetech have been providing Maximo solutions together for many years. Projetech is the most experienced SaaS provider of Maximo, and we have providing Maximo as a service solution for almost 20 years. So before I turn it over to Rich, just some reminders. This webinar will be recorded and all phone lines have been muted. We will be sending out a playback URL in a few days. So if you have any questions, you may submit your question in the question field box, and we will answer questions at the end of the presentation. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Rich.
Thanks, Betsy. Just a little bit about ITS. We're Intelligent Technology Solutions. We're based in Atlanta. We've actually been doing Maximo since 1999, so we're almost in our 20th year. We do Maximo upgrades, installations, licensing, FCT and Passport. We are an authorized IBM support provider. And we have personnel in every time zone in the U.S., so we are able to support our clients no matter where they are. MaxAware was conceived out of our need to manage and maintain over 20 client systems at the same time. As you could probably imagine, that's a pretty daunting task, and we wanted to reduce or eliminate the usual way you know something is wrong with Maximo, that being when a user calls to say they're having access issues or some task isn't completing, and other cases like that. We wanted to take it from a reactive method to a proactive method. So we developed MaxAware to help try to solve this. No longer do you need to fire up the laptop, VPN into a corporate network, RDP to the Maximo server just to perform some simple tasks. With MaxAware, you're able to receive robust information on your Maximo systems almost instantly in one easy-to-use interface. You're able to interact with Maximo from anywhere on any device. Today, we're just going to walk through the functions of our product. And with that, I will take control here and show you the instances menu that you're looking at. As you will see, this gives you some information on this instance that's being monitored. You can see the status of the agent, the server, application, the database, and the licensing module. You also see a quick URL for where this is located, and also the version of it. You can collapse it with the chevron, so if you have several instances, you can collapse it down and you would still see how many instances are being monitored, how many errors you're having, and how many warnings. Also, the top menu here, you can sort by organization or status, and then you can further filter by whether, show me the ones that are offline, that are in error, that are acting normal. That way you can sort it kind of the way you feel that you need to view it at any given time. So the first panel that you will see is what we call the Flyout main panel. On this panel, you will see everything that's going on with your Maximo system. You get some general information at the top. Again, the version of Maximo, and two URLs here. One is for a direct tunnel to the system from anywhere that you're at. This could actually be a full DNS name, www.yourcompany.com, and whatever that access is. So you will get some agent status, displays the status of the ITS MaxAware agent and the last update time. The admin mode shows whether or not Maximo admin mode is on or off, because let's face it, sometimes we get out of Maximo after we have performed a task and we forgot to take it out of admin mode. And then there's some more in-depth features of ITS MaxAware in the remaining views, and these represent the statuses of the server, application, database, licensing, and cron tests. And you will notice some items have a link to the right-hand side. That lets you know that there's more in-depth information. But we'll skip over the servers one at this time, and we'll go down to the application one. Also, I wanted to point out that with the color codes, you can see there's a mouse over that will tell you what is going on with the system. In this case, a storage device at a warning level. Down here with the cron tasks, that one or more cron tasks are overdue. Same thing with licensing, that there's a warning level there. So on the application side, you can see that the information here is on the various JVMs that comprise your system and their status. You know at a glance if you have a JVM that's out of control, using too much memory, or if your status is out of whack. You see the port that is involved and the service running on it. The codes you see next to it are the general HTML codes that you would see if you're trying to access a website and you get an error back. On the database side, again, you see the URL and the name of the database. If you click on the icon, it gives you a lot more information. So we're going to dive into that. And again, you see these flyout windows kind of stack on top of each other. And I want to point out at the top, you'll see that there's a maximize button, which is very helpful into giving you a little bit more information, a little bit more space to view everything. So at the top, you can see the database server details. That includes the user and the type of database. This can be very helpful for our partners that monitor many instances running various types of servers. Currently, we support Oracle and SQL. So at a glance, you know what is actually running there and the last time it started as well. So the first one there is the database backups that have been taken. So you get some information on there, when it started, the type and the recovery model of that backup. You also see that you have a search box. You will find that it's pretty prevalent throughout the entire application. Anytime you want to search for a specific item, you're able to get in there quickly. And you'll see we'll use this throughout the product as we demonstrate it here. So you can see there are a lot of performance checks that we're doing here. There's actually 2 pages of them. So we can go and go to the second page. We'll go back to the first page. If we want to search for XE, it will show you just those kinds. These are really in-depth items that we're looking at, and we recognize them in our product manual, so it gives you more information on them. Most of them is just wanting to know whether something is out of control or not, whether it's taking too long to do something. And then down here at the bottom, there's other database checks that we're performing, and those are really is it enabled or is it not enabled? So you can see on this one we got 2 of them that are failing those checks, and then 2 that have passed that as well. So that concludes the database portion of it. We can exit out of that panel, and we're back to our main Flyout panel. So on the licensing side, you can see here we got some crazy stuff going on. We got way too many licenses being used here. So if we get into that piece there, you can see the different types that we have, how many are allowed and how many are actually being used. And then also down here, how many active users are going on. So this is, the numbers here represent in the last 30 days how many times this user has signed on in the last 15 and the last 7. This can help you right size your license counts. And as you know, since we're in a time that IBM is doing a lot of audits on Maximo, you want to make sure that you're staying within those limits. So see here, we have a button for manage license thresholds. So let's say I went out and I purchased more licenses. I'm now at 315. That will come back here to the licensing tab, and it will turn that green, as you can see. So now we're good with our licensing. For the cron tasks, we dive into this one. Usually on this one you want to expand it. It gives you some more information. Having the information at your fingertips is very helpful. You can see when it was last run, when it was scheduled to run, and its schedule itself. You have the ability to page through crons. If there's a large number of them, you can also search for specific ones. So here we want to look for one that's called report, and we can see that there are several of them that have report in the name. If we go back, we say we want to look for escalation. That gives us all the ones on that as well. And you can also see there's several that aren't actually scheduled. Go back to that panel. Let's get out of the search box here. And you can see we have 2 pages of them, but then this last part are ones that are not actually scheduled to run. Okay, so now we'll get into what's really a lot of the meat, which is the servers. So you can see on the server side, we give you a lot of initial information about your system, just the memory and the storage just to start with. You can see the percentage you have free on your disk spaces. That can be helpful. Many times a log file is been piling up, so you may be able to go out and just help remove some of the disk space problems just with reducing the log. So if we see here the next piece of the log files itself, you will see there's several log files here, and we can add others as well. So we're going to click into an actual log file, and you can see, we'll expand it so you can see it a little bit more. Now, one of the cool features of MaxAware is that we group like errors together. We found that when you're searching in the log file for errors or trying to troubleshoot a problem, it can be extremely extensive and it can take you a lot of time. So we thought that by grouping them together, you can learn real quick of what is really going on and where you need to focus some attention. So if you see the I over here, that's just more information on that. And once you have addressed something, you can actually do an X, and that will suppress it. It is still there, but it's suppressed from your view. And again, you can search for specific issues if you want. And we'll close that one. So you see this command history here. We're going to get into the commands, but this is a history of the commands that have been executed by MaxAware. So on the commands tab itself, you can see we have several commands. You can enter and exit admin mode. You can start and stop a JVM. You can restart Maximo itself. You can fetch a log file. So if you're doing some additional troubleshooting, you want to feed your log file to another product, you need to provide your log file to IBM, you're able to quickly get a file from, and without having to go down through the whole file architecture and hierarchy on the system itself, which is going to save you a lot of time. And then here we also have unlock a user. We all have those times where someone has locked themselves out of the system and we're not necessarily right there at the system. Well, with MaxAware, you're actually able to unlock them quickly. You see here, I asked it to unlock a user. I actually get a scroll box of all the users on the system. So all I have to do is pick somebody. Say, we'll pick this person. Now we say we want to unlock it. What it's asking you here is to validate that you really want to perform this command. So I will put in my login. This is the login for MaxAware. And if I did that right, oh, I did not. Okay, so I got that in there. You see it's submitted right here. And it's just waiting for the agent to pick it up. Once the agent picks it up, it'll execute the command and unlock that user. Now you can see it's processing, and then it has just performed that task over here. So that's really helpful. And then another thing that's here, which depends on your need, actually can be hidden if you don't need it or don't want it, is the ability to get to the server itself. So if we need to get to the system, there's a VNC password that you would have, and it actually gets me to that server itself so I can log in and do whatever I need to do. You can do your Control-Alt-Delete, get your login box. So at that point, it's just like you're on the system. It's got a secure tunnel going back and forth so that everything is protected. So that is it for the major parts of MaxAware. I do want to show you some other areas under Preferences. So you can have your general contact info here. Now what this is good for is that we send alerts. So in order for the alerts to come to the right people or distribution list, you just set this up in here, and also phone numbers. So I'll show you where that actually comes into play. Down here in the events, right now, being notified of whether the application is down or the application is partially down, I can add a new event and say I also want to know when it's up, and then we can play these, we can resume them, we can pause them. All right, looks like I'm hung up. Okay, you see I resume. That enables these triggers. If I pause, it takes that off. I can also quickly get rid of a trigger, and I don't want to resume them on this system. But let me give you the methods. This is saying, okay, I'm going to send an email. I've got an SMS text message. You can add other emails and other phone numbers as well. And then limits. There may be times when you're actually working on Maximo. You may want to pause it, or you may say, hey, I really get too many notifications today of a certain type, and you want to limit that. This is how many times you get notified in an hour. And then also we've added two-factor authentication. You can use your phone to pair the device, quickly scan the QR code, and then you are set up for two-factor authentication. And that concludes the MaxAware product. It's kind of simple, but it's very robust. It does a lot for you.
Thank you, Rich, for a great demonstration of MaxAware. So as you all saw, MaxAware is a standalone product to monitor your Maximo. And actually, Projetech utilizes the MaxAware features and functionality in one of our latest solutions, Maximo Plus. And this solution is something that brings improved support, performance, and license compliance to an on-premise Maximo system. And it allows organizations to remain on-premise and try out the cloud as well, because we do provide you a full non-production Maximo SaaS instance in our cloud. So really excited to incorporate that MaxAware into our newest solution in partnering with ITS. Just wanted to inform the audience of that as we're wrapping up today's webinar. So we do have some time to answer questions. So the first question that the first question the attendee has submitted is, how is MaxAware different than the IBM MMI Work Center?
That's a great question. MaxAware is extendable. For one, we can have MaxAware monitor log files other than Maximo itself. We can monitor Maximo add-ons, and we are able to evolve the product at a much faster pace. Plus, we deliver the remote access component that MMI simply doesn't have. So you're not going to be able to get to it unless you VPN and RDP in. So you're able to see all the information that you want from anywhere, and you don't have to be tied into the Maximo system itself. For example, if WebSphere goes down, MMI has absolutely no way to deliver any of that information, since it would be down as well. MaxAware will know, and it keeps working. Plus, we're also able to issue commands to the system regardless of the application status of Maximo.
Great. Another question has come in. Are you storing Maximo credentials in your cloud?
No, actually not at all. During our initial setup, your system credentials are securely stored locally. They're hashed, they're salted on the agent using 256-bit encryption. We're also using SSL tunnels, end-to-end encryption, and have support for two-factor authentication. When we actually issue a command from MaxAware, we are simply telling the agent, hey, you're allowed to execute this command. It then goes and makes sure that it has the credentials to send it over. So at no time do we ever have the credentials in the cloud.
Perfect. Another question. Do I have to change my firewall to make MaxAware work?
Actually, no. If your Maximo platform has the ability to access the internet, and it usually does for downloading patches and such, we use those common ports that are open. So if MaxAware uses a secure outbound connection from the local server to our cloud, the only way MaxAware wouldn't work is if a system has no access outbound at all. And even then, we still may be able to do it from another server that does have access.
Gotcha. One more question, and I think we're out of time. How is the system licensed?
Oh, great. Yeah, MaxAware is a cloud-based offering with an annual subscription. So for the base cost, you can monitor 2 systems. Usually it's prod, test, dev, /dev. There are upcharges for complicated setups. We have some clients that have 6 JVMs. Well, that takes a little bit more effort and log file traffic, so there's a upcharge for that. And also if you're adding systems, it costs more too. So if you have 3 or 4 or 5 systems you want to monitor, there's some upcharges there, but it's not the same as the initial two. What's kind of neat is to monitor a simple setup actually costs less a day than a fast food meal.
So it's really affordable. So that was a good question. So we do have to wrap up. So if we didn't get to your questions during the webinar, don't worry. We will respond to your question with a personal email, either from myself or Rich. And again, we will be sending out a link to this webinar for your convenience in the coming days, and with the slides will be available as well to download. So appreciate everyone's time, and thank you for attending today's webinar.